أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على خير خلقه العبد المؤيد والرسول المسدد حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين وصحابته المنتجبين. قال الله تعالى في كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم: وقل للمؤمنات يغضضن من أبصارهن ويحفظن فروجهن ولا يبدين زينتهن إلا ما ظهر منها وليضربن بخمرهن على جيوبهن. صدق الله العلي العظيم. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Since yesterday's Q&A, most of the questions that came through were regarding hijab. We decided that tonight we will dedicate tonight's lecture to the topic of hijab and address some of the misconceptions and some of the questions that are generally raised regarding hijab. وصلوا على محمد وآل محمد. So first of all, let's get to know the philosophy behind hijab. Why is it that Allah Azza wa Jal requires women in Islam to wear hijab? Well, this is the first misconception, that only women in Islam are required to wear hijab. This is untrue. All the women in previous religions were also required to wear hijab. In Judaism, in Christianity, proof of that is nuns in the Catholic Church. If you see them, they wear hijab. They wear hijab just like Muslim women, if not better. If you see depictions of Mary, the mother of Isa alayhi salam, all of the depictions of her, she's wearing a veil. Her head is covered, her body is covered. She's not showing her hair. In Judaism, today, women are required to cover their hair, to cover their head, to cover their hair, either by a wig or any other means. So hijab is not restricted to Islam, but it exists in other religions. If other religions refused to practice, that is not the fault of Islam, but this is a practice that exists in other religions. Just like fasting. Fasting of the month of Ramadan, it existed in other religions as well. كُتِبَ عَلَيْكُمُ الصِّيَامُ كَمَا كُتِبَ عَلَى الَّذِينَ مِنْ قَبْلِكُمْ. Fasting has been prescribed upon you the same way that it was prescribed upon religions before you. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. We mentioned briefly yesterday, but we will mention again, reiterate and re-emphasize that in Islam, Allah Azza wa Jal, and when I say Islam, I mean the general religion of Islam, which includes Judaism, Christianity, and our faith, Islam. This is all Islam. إِنَّ الدِّينَ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ Islam. We believe that all of these religions are Islam. Allah Azza wa Jal wanted women to be respected not for their beauty, not for their looks. Allah did give women looks and beauty, but the respect that they deserve should not be based on physical appearance, but rather on what they achieve, what they contribute, what they offer to the community, what they offer society, not based on looks. It is ironic that Islam is accused of demeaning and disrespecting women. You know, the culture that disrespects women the most was Western culture. I'll tell you why, and I'll tell you how. In World War I and in World War II, before the wars, women were not part of the workforce. They weren't. If there were women working, it was very limited. When is it that women were asked to join the workforce? When a lot of men, by the millions, were in war, They were fighting in World War I and in World War II. Companies needed what? They needed workers. They needed individuals to come and fill the workplace. And so they brought millions of women and let them join the workforce. Why? Because the men were missing. Now that women were brought, do you think they were given the same wages and the same salaries? No. Read history. Women were given a lot less than what men used to receive, although they were performing the same job, if not more. Women were working more hours, but being paid less wages and less salaries. When men returned from World War I and World War II, when they came back home from war, many women lost their jobs. They lost their jobs. The men, they came back to their jobs. And the women, they were let go. They lost their jobs. Is this a civilization and a culture that respects women? Or a culture that abuses women and takes advantage of them? Till today, whether it's in business or in medicine or any other field, do you think that an average woman who has received the same education, she has the same education as a man, do you think that they have the same job opportunities? No, men have better job opportunities. Do you think they are paid the same? Men are paid more than women are. Even when it comes to promotions, men are more likely to receive a promotion than women. Why? This is a bias. This is a bias against women. The excuse is that the woman, she'll get married, she'll become pregnant, she'll go into labor, and she'll have to take a maternity leave for 2 or 3 years. We would prefer to have a man that doesn't take a leave. And so, in sociology, there's a term called the glass ceiling. A glass ceiling. Meaning, for women, there's a glass ceiling that you can't see, they don't speak about, but it's there. A woman can't go over that ceiling. She can't receive a promotion higher than that. If you remember, when Hillary Clinton was running for president, in the Democratic Convention, when she came out on stage, they pretended there was a glass ceiling and she broke it, right? As if being the first female president of the United States. And she wasn't. It proves the glass ceiling theory. So even here, a civilization that claims to be the most advanced civilization, they still can't treat men and women equally, right? Why is there a feminist movement here in the United States and in Europe and in the West? Because there are women that want their rights. They want equal rights. Islam gave women equal rights 14 centuries ago. They make fun of us for having women wear hijab. Hijab gives respect to women. Islam says that you respect a woman for what she achieves, for what she does, for what she produces, the children that she raises and upbrings. Not because of the way she looks. Here, today in America, look at how women are sold. They use them for business. They degrade women. They degrade women. From the greatest politicians, from the greatest CEOs, didn't we have the Me Too movement? And it's still going on. What is this movement about? It's a movement about degrading women, disrespecting women. From the president till the lowest of civilians and employees. But in Islam, this doesn't exist. Islam says that you have to respect a woman. Islam tells a woman to guard herself, to guard her beauty so that she is not manipulated, so that she is not taken advantage of, so that she is not used. Rather, she receives her respect based on what she achieves and not her looks. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So one misconception is that why is there so much emphasis on the woman and not the men? Why can't you just tell men to lower their gaze? Let the women dress freely. Let women dress whatever they'd like, but tell the men to lower their gaze and not look. Well, guess what? The Quran does say this. The Quran says that men and women both have an obligation. Women shall cover and men shall lower their gaze. Why is it that we tend to give a blind eye to this? And there are some that say women are oppressed, there's not emphasis on men. No, there is an emphasis on men. In fact, the Quran in Surah An-Nur, it begins to speak to men first, and then to women. قُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ وَيَحْفَظُوا فُرُوجَهُمْ. When the Quran finishes from the men, and then it comes to the women. وَقُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنَاتِ يَغْضُضْنَ مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِنَّ وَيَحْفَظْنَ فُرُوجَهُمْ. There's a great emphasis in Islam on men lowering their gaze, on not staring, on not looking lustfully and with desire. But obviously, not all of men will pay attention. Not all of men will be obedient. Here, the woman has to fulfill her obligation of hijab. The man fulfills his obligation, and the female fulfills her obligation. When we tell women to cover, it doesn't mean this gives room and freedom for men to look as much as they want. No, absolutely not. There has to be a balance. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. So a common question is, what is hijab? What is the definition of proper hijab? Proper hijab. How is that defined? Yesterday, during the Q&A, I described, and I mentioned briefly. The definition of proper hijab is for the head and hair to be covered, the neck to be covered, the ear, the neck to be covered, only the face to be showing, right? The entire body covered, except the hands and the face. Even the feet, according to many maraji', even the feet have to be covered. Women have to wear socks. The body is covered. The shape should not be seen. I can't tell you what to wear. I can't tell you what to dress. But the body, the shape, should not be shown. Something that covers the shape of the body. Ideally, I would say abaya. Of course, many ladies will object. They say, you expect us to wear abaya to university and to work? I know, I understand that it's difficult, but if many females begin to practice it and wear abaya to work, I know for some, they might say the Sayyid is being too extreme. This is too extreme. I'm not being extreme. Abaya is the perfect hijab. It covers the body, it is modest. And why do some ladies, they think that it's too much? Because our sisters, the same hijab that they wear, if they wear the abaya to come to mosque, if they wear it at school, at university, at work, it becomes something common. You won't look strange. If all of our women began to practice it, it won't look strange. But if they refuse, obviously, if you are the only one that wants to wear abaya, you will look like the black sheep in the community. But if we encourage our women, and this is where the job of the men comes. You know, the lecture on hijab, it's not just for the women, but the men have a role. The fathers, the husbands, the brothers, you all have a role in implementing hijab, in advising your wife, your sister, your daughter, your aunt, your cousin. You advise them, you admonish them regarding hijab. This is it's mandatory upon you. Al-amr bil-ma'ruf wal-nahy 'anil munkar. A husband that allows his wife to leave the house without a hijab, he is just as guilty as her. He will be held accountable on the Day of Judgment. Where were you? Or a brother that allows his sister to leave the house without hijab, he will also be guilty. He's also guilty if he does not say anything. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Another issue that we have is fashion hijab. So there are some sisters, may Allah bless them, they want to wear hijab, but they do it in the wrong way. They do it in a fashionable way, right? Today, there are lots of Muslim YouTubers, females, they come out on YouTube and they try to fashionize hijab, to do it in a fashionable way. So there's the turban hijab where only the ear is covered, but the neck is showing. And it's a turban for females to make hijab more fashionable. In some places I've seen the humpback hijab, it's a huge hijab, and I see it in some countries, to make hijab look more fashionable. My dear sisters and brothers, the purpose of hijab is to take attention away from your beauty and your looks. Not to make you look ugly, no. That's not the purpose of hijab. You can look beautiful, you can look presentable, look clean, look presentable, look nice. But to make it fashionable, you're defeating the purpose of hijab. It's like, let me give you an example. It's like someone during the month of Ramadan, right? He takes a shot that makes him lose his appetite. It might not be haram to take that shot, but it defeats the purpose of fasting. The purpose of fasting is to feel some hunger. If you take a shot that makes you lose your appetite, you are defeating the purpose of fasting. Similarly with hijab. If you make it so fashionable, you make it so beautiful with a turban. First of all, there's a problem with that because your neck and your chest, all of it shows. Two, you are defeating the purpose of hijab. You are attracting more attention. You're attracting more attention to yourself, while the concept of hijab is a lesson to men to not look at me for my beauty, but to look at me as a human being, not an object. I'm not an object. I am not here to satisfy your desires, to look at me and enjoy my beauty. No. You will judge me according to my mind, to my logic, to my reason, to what I achieve, not to what I look like. Sallallahu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Is hijab wajib or by choice? There are some that think hijab is a personal thing. Hijab is by choice. Islam does not order a woman to wear hijab. It's up to the woman if she chooses to wear, and if she chooses not to wear, that's up to her. This is a mistake, my dear brothers and sisters. Hijab is wajib. Just like salah, just like fasting, just like hajj and khums, it is mandatory upon women to wear hijab. And of course, men have hijab as well. They have to cover. Men that come out with their huge muscles, like my muscles, right? They come out and they want to show off to the ladies. This is improper. This is improper. There is a hijab for both genders, but it differs from gender to gender, obviously, because they're different. The way women look at a man is different from the way a man looks at woman. It's different. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us differently. The lust and desire in each gender is different. So is hijab wajib? Absolutely, it's wajib. Surah An-Nur, verse 31. وَقُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنَاتِ يَغْضُضْنَ مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِنْ. Tell the believing women to lower their gaze. You see, we only emphasize sometimes on the men to lower their gaze. Women also have to lower their gaze. Some expect only men to not look, but women can look. No, women can't look as well. وَيَحْفَظْنَ فُرُوجَهُنْ. And to guard their body parts. وَلَا يُبْدِينَ زِينَتَهُنَّ إِلَّا مَا ظَهَرَ مِنْهَا. And they shall not portray their beauty except that which is portrayed already, that which is showing already. Scholars say, narrations, not scholars, narrations by the Ahlul-bayt, they say the beauty that is already showing is their face only. Their face and their hands. Everything else has to be covered. إِلَّا مَا ظَهْرَ مِنْهَا. And then, وَلِيَضْرِبْنَ بِخُمُرِهِنَّ عَلَى جُيُوبِهِنَّ. Before Islam, women covered. They covered their heads. Islam did not introduce hijab. It existed before. Women wore hijab. The difference is that in Arabia, the woman would bring the hijab and put it behind their ears, on their backs. They would not put it on their chests. So it only covered their heads and it went back. The Quran says no, let them bring their scarves. Khumr. Khumr is anything that covers the head. The scarf, a head scarf, is called khumr. Let them bring it forward to cover their chest. وَلِيَضْرِبْنَ بِخُمُرِهِنَّ عَلَى جُيُوبِهِنَّ. Juyub is the chest. Let them cover their chest and their necks. This is in the Quran. Surah An-Nur, verse 31. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Also, my dear friends, my dear brothers and sisters, a part of hijab. See, hijab is not just the cloth. It's not just a head cover. That you cover your head, your neck, your chest, and the rest of your body. Hijab is also etiquette. It's also manners. It's also akhlaq. What effect, what good is hijab if you cover from head to toe, but the way you handle yourself in front of men, in front of strangers, you laugh out loud, you joke around, you tease, the way you look, the way you handle yourself in public and in front of men, it's improper. What good is that hijab? Hijab is not just a cloth that covers. It's also etiquette. It's also manners. It's how you speak to the men. It's how you raise your voice in front of the men. It's how you carry yourself in front of the men. The Quran says, وَلَا يَخْضَعْنَ بِالْقَوْلِ. For a woman, part of her hijab is the way she speaks. She shouldn't make her voice very soft so that it sounds, how do I explain this? I think you know what I'm talking about, right? When a female softens her voice, there's someone, I've said this in some of my lectures, there's some women, when they go outside in front of strangers, they soften their voice in front of. When she comes at home, when she speaks with her husband, she speaks like a bear. Right? The sound is like a bear. I don't mean to humiliate. I don't mean to offend. I say some, of course, most of our sisters, they're not like this. 90% of our sisters are not like this. But there are some. In front of strangers, they soften the voice. In front of family members, it's a rough voice. This is a mistake. Part of hijab is to be careful. Don't soften your voice in front of strangers. If you joke around, the way you laugh, the way you have to be very careful. I don't mean to be offensive, so I apologize. I don't want anyone to be offended. But there are some, unfortunately, some sisters who practice hijab, but they give a bad name to hijab because of the way they carry themselves. Also, on social media, there are some that wear hijab, but look at what they do on social media. The pictures that they post of themselves. The scarf is there, but when you look, it's very upsetting. Everything is revealing. The makeup, the mascara, and they take pictures and they post it for everyone to see. This is a mistake. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Some ladies ask, some sisters say, I'm not going to wear hijab now. Why? Because I'm afraid maybe a year from now I will take it off. Is this an excuse for not wearing hijab now because you're afraid that a year from now you'll take it off? This is not an excuse. This is like saying, I'm not going to start praying now because I'm afraid in 2 more months I will stop. Is that an excuse for you not to pray now? No. Pray, fast, wear your hijab. If you decided on taking it off a year from now, that's another issue. Who knows? Maybe if you decide on wearing hijab today, Allah will help you and give you the willpower and give you the strength to never take off your hijab. Believe me, if you decide on wearing the hijab and you ask Allah for support and for willpower, you will not take that hijab off. Ask Allah for help. So just because you don't know what will happen in the future, it doesn't mean that you shouldn't make the decision today. Make the decision today. My dear brothers and sisters, and I say this to my sisters, you fasted for 30 days, for 29 days, or 28 days. Today is 28, tomorrow is 29. Ramadan, one of the purposes of Ramadan, one of the benefits is that it gives us what? Willpower and strength, self-power and determination. Make use of Ramadan. Decide on tonight, the eve of the last day of Ramadan. After fasting for 30 days, you've defeated shaitan. You've developed self-strength and determination. Make use of it tonight by deciding on wearing hijab. My dear sisters, do not leave the masjid tonight unless you've made a vow to Allah that starting from tomorrow, you will not only wear the hijab at the mosque, but you will wear it at school, at work, and everywhere else. You go shopping, you go to the mall, you will put on the hijab. Make a determination. Make a vow to Allah, and believe me, Allah will help you. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. And finally, some say hijab is a big commitment. If I wear hijab, that means I have to begin praying, I have to begin fasting, I have to leave music, I have to do this, I have to do that. True. In Islam, you have to pray, you have to fast, you have to do this, you have to do all of these things. But you don't have to leave it as a package. You take all or you leave all. It doesn't work that way. Start slowly. Wear your hijab. You don't pray, in a couple of days you will begin praying. In a couple of days you will begin fasting. In a couple of days you'll go to Hajj. For some, they believe that Islam is either you take it all or you leave it all. No. Allah will help you. Begin, start slowly. You see, even in the beginning of Islam, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not ask the Muslims to do everything all at once. When Allah revealed the verse, اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق, He didn't tell people to pray that day. They began praying after several years. They began fasting after several years. When it came to the prohibition of alcohol, it didn't occur all at once. First, لا تقربوا الصلاة وأنتم سكارى. The first law was that do not go to salah when you're drunk. And then إنما الخمر والميسر والأنصاب والأزلام رجس من عمل الشيطان. And then Allah banned alcohol. It occurred in stages. It occurred in stages. If you feel that you cannot do everything all at once and you're overburdened, take it into stages. Wear hijab, and then in a couple of days begin fasting, in a couple of days begin praying. Take it in stages. If you feel overwhelmed, take it in stages. So if you feel hijab is a major commitment, begin your hijab and everything else will come slowly with the help of Allah. Ask, Allah will help you, and Allah will help you. Don't feel it's a major commitment. That if you wear hijab, you have to do everything else. And if you don't wear hijab, you have to stop everything else. There are some, when they stop wearing hijab, they feel they have to stop praying and stop fasting. Why? Why? You don't have to abandon Islam altogether. I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to help our sisters and our mothers and our daughters and our aunts to decide on wearing hijab, insha'Allah. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to give strength to the brothers as well, and to the fathers, and to the sons, to help their women in the house, to encourage them, to support them, to be supportive of them making the decision of wearing hijab, insha'Allah. I'd like to thank the brothers and sisters, the community, the president, the MC, the hosts, my hosts in this blessed month of Ramadan, the Mukki family, whoever I had the pleasure of having iftar with and suhoor with and spending the blessed month of Ramadan. These are cherished moments for myself. These are memorable moments. I will not forget the moments that I spent here in Orlando. This is a special community. Although I say this to every community but I go to, but this time I mean it. This time I mean it. This is a special community. You have a lot of potential. You have a beautiful masjid. I wish to see that this community grows, insha'Allah, not just in numbers, not just in quantity, but in quality. Inshallah, in future trips that I come, you'll have an Islamic school for your children, a full-time Islamic school. You'll have a gymnasium for your children. Inshallah, I wish all the success to this blessed community. I ask for your forgiveness if I offended any individual. If I offended you, please forgive me. Tomorrow when I head back to Karbala, I promise that all of you will be in my dua in the shrine of Imam Hussein and Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas. And I also ask you to keep me in your du'as as well. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم إني أسألك أن تجعل فيما تقضي وتقدر من الأمر المحتوم في الأمر الحكيم من القضاء الذي لا يرد ولا يبدل أن تكتبنا من حجاج بيتك الحرام المبرور حجهم المشكور سعيهم المغفور ذنوبهم المكفر عنهم سيئاتهم وأن تجعل فيما تقضي وتقدر أن تطيل عمري في خير وعافية وتوسع في رزقي وتجعلني ممن تنتصر به لدينك ولا تستبدل بي غيري. أعوذ بجلال وجهك الكريم أن ينقضي عني شهر رمضان أو يطلع الفجر من ليلتي هذه ولك قبلي تبعة أو ذنب تعذبني عليه ولأرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات. الفاتحة مع الصلوات.